Welcome to Inspiring Ideas podcast. Today, we wanted to do our bit to the community and talk about soil. Many of you have seen or heard Save Soil movement, which is initiated by Sadhguru, a yogi, mystic, and a visionary. We have Jai and Prakash today, who are amongst many earth buddies who would want to spread the awareness about Save Soil. Welcome to the show. How are you going?
Fantastic, Madhu, and thank you very much for this opportunity. This is a fantastic opportunity to spread uh, the message of Save Soil.
Thank you. Thank you for
Pleasure.
having us here. It's been a journey for me to learn a lot about soil, and I was looking for an opportunity to share. And it's really wonderful to be here today.
Excellent to hear from both of you. Let's just jump on it, right? So, starting with why save soil and why is it important now? Prakash.
That's a very good question indeed, Madhu. I'm sure you have all of us have heard of, or all of us would agree the fact that soil is the very basis of our existence, right? We get most of our food either directly or indirectly from the soil. However, uh, today the situation is that 52% of agricultural soils have already degraded or eroded, because of which more than 2 billion people are facing malnutrition. Right? It's a grim situation. We're also seeing a spike in farmer suicides because farmers are unable to get the sort of quality and quantity of produce that they used to get earlier. And if this goes on, we are heading into a situation where there will be 40% less food for a or 40% less food to feed a population of nearly 9.2 billion by 2045. And this will lead to many other problems such as civil wars, migrations, violence, etc. So as you can see, we're heading to a deep crisis, and unless we act now, this will be the end of life as we see it or as we know it.
Yeah, at the same time,
That's bigger statements there. So, Jay, I want to get your perspectives from this.
yeah, this is not to paint a doomsday picture as such, but it's a fact that the kind of situation that we ourselves, through various kinds of industrial practices and things like that, that we have landed ourselves into, it is just a way of acknowledging the situation today and seeing how it can be turned around. So, we are talking about carbon emissions, we are talking about rising temperatures, melting icebergs, untimely rains, floods, soil erosion. All of these have a direct impact on the soil, either reducing the fertility or moving it towards desertification. So when I looked up online, there were startling facts about how we are, how majority of the soils in the world are moving towards desertification. So
Mm.
that is why save soil.
I think when I, in fact, thought about in the morning, what do I know about soil? I knew very little. Now I'm getting to know more from both of you. Thank you for all the education. I must acknowledge that first. Right. So, good perspectives to start with why save soil. And now let's jump on to a little bit deep and unpack some of the things that are, basically helping the soil to get degraded. So, how can we bring it back? So, let's actually start with why organic content is key to soil and what can, if you can elaborate on a number of parameters around that, please, Prakash.
Sure. Again, a great question, Madhu. So when we say organic content is key to soil because the lack of organic content turns soil into sand. Or in other words, the main difference between soil and the sand is presence or absence of the organic content, right? Now, when the soil has no organic content in it, it will lead to various issues, and some of the issues that I would like to really touch upon, and which will be very important to the very existence of human life or any life on the planet. Number one is food, right?
Mm,
There will be a huge food crisis in this. Now, one of the things which we have seen in with food crisis is that uh, today's food, such as fruits, vegetables, and all that, has got 90% less nutrients than before. There's also a study uh, from one of the leading universities in the US, which says that which shows production in um, oh, yes, there it is, Madhu. Thank you. Which shows reduction in calcium levels by 27%, iron levels 37%, vitamin A 21%, and vitamin C 30% between 1975 and 1997 due to soil depletion. Right. So this is really something that we have to be concerned about.
And just talking about food, I was talking to my family members about how they perceive the quality of food through these years. So I was just taking the last 3 decades as an example, and the one answer that I received from all of them is food is not as tasty as it used to be. It is not as nutritional as it used to be, and the number of deficiency diseases have gone up. So these are a few experiential facts that I have learned and known from my close circles when I did my own research as part of this movement. So, yeah, so it's very evident that it's happening, degrading soil, affecting our food.
mm. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, interesting perspectives on food. And is there more, or are we talking about anything else apart from the causes for the soil to be not to be organic and all that, Prakash?
Yes, there are many. Just to add to the food, we are also seeing waning immunity among human beings, and a number of deaths that we found in we experienced with the COVID crisis is one of them. The lack of nutrition is sort of leading to low immunity in the human beings, right? Um, other aspects are some of the other aspects are water scarcity. Now, a depleted soil, for a fact, cannot absorb and regulate water flows. Right, the lack of water retention, and then this lack of water retention, it leads to water scarcity, droughts, and floods. We know for a fact that uh, when soil has got organic matter, it has the capacity to hold up to 90% uh, of its weight in water, and that itself is a big help to drought-prone areas.
Mm,
Yeah, and this brings to mind a beautiful example that I came across on YouTube. Maybe the link will be provided. But the two tubs, one both filled with soil, and one with a bit of green cover, a small sapling, and a little bit of grass, and the other one barren, just soil. And there is a bottle of water poured into both of them, and there is an outlet. And through the outlet, you can see the one with the green cover. There is water slowly seeping out, whereas the one without any green cover, it just the water gushes out, bringing soil along with it. So that kind of helped me understand how having organically rich soil with tree cover helps in water retention.
beautiful. I mean, that's so powerful. Thank you for sharing, Jay. And if you can, again, for our audience who are, they are across the world, and if they are able to see it, and I can definitely share it in the link if you can. That'll be really helpful. The link that you were talking about. Yeah.
I'll
Fantastic,
Thank you,
share that.
Jay.
fantastic. Yeah.
And I
Right.
just have one more
Prakash, sorry.
point to add. I learned this through the Save Soil movement. So what is being recommended to have uh, is 3 to 6% of organic content in the soil makes it sustainable for agriculture, which means we will be able to produce rich, nutritionally rich food, good quality food for all of us to consume. That's what it means if we have 3 to 6% organic content. Whereas more than 52% of the soil in India has less than 0.5% organic content. So that is why we are calling it to be on the verge of desertification. Now, this is what I learned from the facts that were presented in Save Soil, that if the organic content in the soil can be taken to over 10%, the agriculture, the irrigation requirements for agriculture will come down by 30%. So can you
That's
imagine what
massive.
that means? Yeah,
Mm.
what could that mean for areas which are drought prone, where rainfall is limited and they have very less access to fresh water? It could really change lives.
Yeah, and I mean, relating to the farmer suicide and all that, I mean, it could basically save them. And people should be starting to encourage, becoming more farmers. Something that we could, definitely think about.
Yeah, yeah, and 400,000
Yeah.
farmers taking their lives in itself talks about uh, the condition of the soil, because that's their, not their asset, but it's something which they use to provide food for all of us. So it's our asset.
Yes, and that can then lead to many other implications, isn't it, with food and yeah, if there are no farmers who will produce food.
So we talked about food, we talked about water, and we talked about loss of livelihood to an extent. What else is there?
Yes, there are many other points or many other aspects. But the other one which I would like to touch upon is loss of biodiversity, right? And so, what is biodiversity? It's nothing but right now there is a scientific evidence to show that 27,000 species of life forms are becoming extinct every year due to loss of habitat, right? And the crisis has reached to a point where 80% of insect biomass has gone. For example, a study in Germany found that tilling in farms reduced earthworm population in soil by about by 25% in just 10 years compared to no till land. Right? This is a European Commission study. So what does this indicate? This indicates to us that loss of biodiversity in soil disrupts the soil habitat and prevents soil regeneration, and then that leads to extinction of species, which is which directly affects the produce that the soil is capable of making, which is nothing but our food, right?
Yeah, it also affects the
So,
food chain, isn't it?
Yes,
yes.
exactly.
You're saying
So,
something.
Yeah.
Sorry.
yeah, what Prakash throwed light on upon is that soil is, I mean, at least I was looking at it as a thing, but I realized it is a living mechanism in itself, with so much of microbial activity going on. And looking at those numbers, 27,000 species, not 27,000 microbes, but 27,000 species of microbes going extinct annually, is like this living substance or a living habitat, like Prakash called it, is dying. So this is why the term soil extinction. I think those numbers speak for themselves. Uh, there is so much scientific study and research on certain species of aquatic life, certain species of vertebral life, because we are able to measure their numbers in terms of whether it is tigers or whether it is dodos, and we are able to classify them as endangered species or extinct species. But there is so much study and research that is going on our soil, and it was very surprising for me that it took a movement like Save Soil for me to become aware of it, when there is so much scientific research and study on it.
It's just we are all so engrossed in our own daily lives, and we don't
Yeah,
generally look at the ecology around us, which is the sound basis for our extinction. I mean, not to say extinction, so
existence,
for
isn't it?
existence. That's the word.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm,
Hmm.
right. So what else? I mean, is that all? I mean, is there anything else to?
No, no. So the big part and something which everyone is familiar about is going to come, and that is climate change. So, Madhu, what do you understand about climate change?
See, to me, climate change is definitely pertinent, and we're all talking about it, and how we can bring technology to help address the climate change issue with AI, IoT, and all that. We've got ESG, and then the Paris Agreement to make it net zero by 2050. These are all fantastic measures, and every industry and organizations and others are trying to emulate so that we can become more, carbon free. So that's what I know.
Mhm. Yes. Well, what you know is relevant and great, and it helps climate change, rather preventing climate change. There is also a large aspect which soil plays in climate change, which we are all not aware of, right? The climate
Mm,
change, all the climate change, all the aspects of climate change that has been touched upon so far has been cutting fossil fuels emissions or planting more trees, etc. And that's what's coming up in the has been so far discussed in the Paris agreements and all of those things which you mentioned, right? But do you know that carbon mixed in soil is 3 times more than what is there in living plants and 2 times more than what is there in atmosphere? For a fact, a study from Columbia Climate School states that, or has found that manure and compost increase soil health and crop yields and help form stable carbon that can remain in soil for decades. Now, this means that soil is critical for capturing and storing atmospheric carbon. And if soil is not revitalized, it can release up to 850 billion tons of carbon dioxide, which becomes the biggest contributor to the climate change than anything else. And and if you really look at it more closely, it means that we are going to the emissions are going to be all of humanity's 30 years worth of emissions which are going up in the air if we don't revitalize the soil.
wow.
Don't you agree, Jay?
I am smiling because not because this is a beautiful fact, but
Mm.
it again took me save soil to understand that soil is the largest carbon sink. All these days, whatever my textbooks taught me, I just thought that I'll have to get this entire planet covered with trees and green cover to be able to absorb all the carbon dioxide in the on the planet. But again, just the numbers that Prakash mentioned, if soil is capable of holding twice the amount of carbon dioxide that's there in the atmosphere right now, then this is something that is the solution for carbon emissions. But I'll tell you one very surprising fact. Again, I heard this from Lord Bilimoria, who is the Chancellor of University of Birmingham in London, that he visited COP26, recently concluded. He spoke at 30 events, and not a single event spoke about soil.
Mm,
Which
mm.
is,
Staggering, right? Mm,
yes, yes, it's
mm.
such an important thing and hasn't been given that level of importance that it deserves.
Agree. Agree. So is that all? I mean, are we looking at anything else before we jump onto the solution?
Yeah, so I have maybe one more topic that I wanted to touch on this. That is,
Sure.
all this basically leads to loss of livelihood, isn't it? So when we say loss of livelihood, that means more farmers committing suicide, as I mentioned previously.
Mm,
Um, 74% of poor are affected by the land degradation, and that's leading to that internal is leading to mass migrations due to food scarcity. And 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 in the past we have also seen a lot of conflicts and such conflicts arising um, due to high food prices.
Yeah,
And it can again we might be in a position that we might witness these kind of situations again in the future if we don't take care of these things now.
can't agree
Just to
more
add,
to you.
Just to add to that, there is a study. I am from India, so whatever facts I am giving mostly relate to India, but they are more or less, maybe the numbers and the percentages could differ, but could be true across the globe. This is a global phenomena that we're talking about. And there was a study that is conducted in India, and uh, about 2% or less than 2% of the farmers want their children to go into agriculture.
How
So
sad is that?
that
Yes.
clearly explains why farmers' children are getting into software and other professions, which is good in many ways, but we are slowly heading towards a society which is farmer free, which means it is also going to be food free.
Hmm.
And that's a dire situation, isn't it? We're heading there.
It is. So very, very interesting perspectives, right? On what is it that we have on our hand in terms of the soil per se. Now, what is the solution? I mean, is there any method to madness here? Starting with Jay.
Yeah, so we are seeing a lot of organizations talking about planting trees. There are so many initiatives about planting trees, increasing green cover. There are so many organizations which are advocating organic farming, agroforestry, multi-crop harvests instead of monoculture, which is all beautiful and good. Definitely they work. That is why the numbers are increasing. The number of organizations, number of people involving in those practices are increasing. But the only sustainable way forward would be to get government infrastructure behind this cause, getting governments to realize that regenerating soil has to happen today, because it's a very slow phenomena. So if you do a plantation drive today and if you plant trees, it will take 5-10 years for those trees to become big, and in some cases it will take 5 years for you to get your first crop out as well, if it is a fruit plant or things like that, right? So it's a slow thing. So if we start taking steps today, for us to see results, it's going to take 15-20 years, right?
True.
So the solution, the sustainable solution that we can look at is driving governments to make policy changes to ensure a certain amount of organic content in the soil, which means they come up with ways in which uh, each country can take this up in a big way. Right now, to put it bluntly, if I have a land of 10 acres and I do whatever I want with it, I plant trees, I cut down trees, I plow it for how much ever time I want, I leave it open to the sun, I kill all the biodiversity, I take as many crops as I want. And after 10 years, I convert it into a desert. There is nobody who can question me. There is
True.
nobody who can call that wrong. But if you take the construction industry, nobody can do that. If you have so much land, there are legal policies which define you can only construct so much. You will have to leave so much space. You need to have so many windows, so much ventilation, etc., right? So that is all we are trying to ask for governments across the world, that they ensure a certain amount of organic content in the soil. So Conscious Planet team, they took 2 years, and along with the help of the scientists and experts in the industry, they've come up with 192 recommendations for 192 countries, considering the type of soil they have, the geographical location that they are in, the latitudinal and longitudinal spread, climatic conditions, considering everything, what can be done in a particular country to regenerate its soil. So these are recommendation documents, 192 of them, one for each country, and it is very great to know that even before this movement was kicked off, 6 Caribbean nations have signed MOUs to take up soil as the most important thing, soil regeneration, rejuvenation.
Mm.
So yeah, that is what could be solution as proposed by Save Soil movement.
Very nice. I think all these are in theory, right, Jay? I think we're all very common people here talking about that importance. And I mean, just a disclaimer: we are not part of any other movement. We are just common people, Earth buddies. We are trying to make sure we spread this news. So, how can we make this theory, get into practice? Is $1 million question to you.
Okay, the reason why this big smile on my face is because I was a part of another similar event, and I would be very glad to share about it.
Please.
2017, it is called Rally for Rivers. There was a 1 month rally where Sadhguru himself drove from the southernmost tip of India to the capital of India, which is in the north, to Delhi. And it was a 1 month rally where he drove along with other volunteers. And there were a series of events in all the major cities along the way. He drove about 9,500 kilometers. And in that 1 month, uh, we were able to get 162 million missed calls voting for a river revitalization policy. Okay, it is a 750-page draft recommendation, which was again prepared by the experts in that field. And at the end of this rally, this was handed over to the government, and within 6 months, it became a policy. So we are talking about the
Fantastic.
largest democracy on the planet, right? If it was possible there, it is definitely possible everywhere else. It is just that the numbers speak. If 10 people ask for soil regeneration, it is not so important, it's not so big. But if 10 million people ask for it, if 3.5 billion people ask for it, which is 60% of the world electorate population, then no government can actually ignore it. So,
True.
whatever is being proposed here is a model which has been implemented in 2017. Now, just one more point, because the river revitalization became an official policy, today there are 13 river revitalization projects which are currently underway by the government in India. If it was not a policy, again, there is no guarantee, there is no sustainability, there is nobody who can ask a question or uh, who
No,
has a
it would have
guidance to
completely died
implement.
down for sure. Yeah, but the
Yeah.
fact is, it's still going in, and people are still considering it. It's just because of the policy that was made around it. So, is there anything that is happening around the soil in similar ways?
Yes, and similar to the rally for rivers, which Jay just pointed out, and similar to on similar lines, we have Sadhguru, who is he's embarked on another 100-day journey. He's a 65-year-old lone motorcyclist. Start
Wow.
riding the
Hmm.
motorcycle, yes, all the way from Europe to South India for these 100 days. And today we are at the 88th day of that 100-day journey. During this time, he has met a lot of people in all the countries that he has that he has visited, including a lot of influencers, key influencers, to spread this message about the Save the Soil movement and what we as common people, as well as influencers, etc., can do to push this movement and make that policy change or drive towards that policy change, which Jay just elaborated about. Um, I think I would strongly, it's not, I think, I would strongly encourage everyone to, those who are viewing this, to jump onto the savethesoil.org website to have a look at the contents within that website, be a part of that movement, be an earth body, and spread the message and contribute as in every way, shape, and form possible, uh, to the extent possible from your end.
Yeah, sorry, just a few corrections there. So we are just on the 12th day, not the 88th day. There are
Oh,
88
I'm
more
sorry.
days to go.
All right.
So Sadhguru took off on this 30,000 kilometer journey at the age of 65 on March 21st. So we are on the 12th day right now. There are 88 more days to go. And it is during these 100 days, all of us can come together and create this huge momentum. So it could be various other areas that we could be working in. Could be organic farming, it could be agroforestry, it could be horticulture or whatever. And it's this is the time for all of us to unite, come together, and if we are able to create that kind of an impact in the world in these 100 days, then it's very much possible to motivate governments across the globe to invest in long-term policies to sustain life on this planet.
Exactly.
So
And
the
I,
website is savesoil.org, and please jump onto the website. There is tons of content over there. It is all scientific research and study which is being converted into infographics in a way that kids can understand, in a way that normal people who understand very simple science can
Like
understand.
me.
Yeah, like all of us.
Mm.
And please use that to share this as much as possible. 10 minutes a day. We don't have to drive 30,000 kilometers or even 3,000 kilometers. Just 10 minutes a day. Please register as an Earth Buddy on savesoil.org and please contribute. Thank you.
thanks for that
Lovely,
correction, Jay.
lovely. Thank you so much, both of you. It's been a real pleasure. I mean, I really hope this small vidcast, or video cast and podcast can actually reach many people to create this awareness. And thank you so much for being on the show today. Safe soil, my friends. Stay safe, stay happy, and stay inspired. Thank you.
Save soil.
Thank you.